All right, y'all. Peace and blessings. God bless y'all. I'm Jarvis Kingston, and I hope y'all doing all right in these times that we're in. Now, today I want to discuss about complaining and bickering and whining. You know, you see a lot of people complain today more than ever. It's like nobody has gratitude. Nobody has inner peace or anything to be grateful for. Everybody's so bitter and uptight about a whole lot of things. People feel a certain type of way about many different things going on in our lives. Now, I must say that we are in some crazy times that we're in, and there is a lot going on in the world, in the country, and definitely with our personal lives. But at the end of the day, if we're talking about we are children of God and we are blessed, what are we truly complaining about? What are we finding so much anger and malice about? We serve a great God. We serve a mighty God. We serve a merciful God. He has done so much things for us. He has blessed us in ways that we can't even imagine. Why are we finding things to be bitter about? Why are we finding things to complain and be angry about all of a sudden? Why are we so worked up over things that aren't even that big of an issue? You see, that complaining spirit is very contagious. And you see many people, especially on the internet, that just complain about stuff. You know, like people complain about weird things. Like people complain about celebrities and just a lot of silly stuff that's not even important. You know what I'm saying? Now, certain cases, there are certain things in life that is worthy of being tripping about or angry about, you know, such as this whole pandemic and the way we're all dealing with it and all these rules or whatnot. That is something worthy of complaining about, no lie, because this is affecting our daily lives, our freedom, you know, our daily functions. So that is worthy of complaining about because that is something out of our control. And a lot of people feel oppressed by all this and people feel really bothered by it. So that's worthy of complaining about. But when we complain about, you know, petty stuff in our personal lives, you know, like complaining about people we're dealing with, see, those type of things to me aren't worth complaining about. You know, things are what they are. You can't control everybody. You can't control things. You know, things are what they are. You know, if you don't like someone's energy or vibe, just stay away from them. But if you have to put up with someone or deal with someone, then be mature about it, okay? We need to stop being so thin-skinned and so sensitive, all right? We need to have more thick skin. We need to be more mature, and we have to handle things accordingly, okay? Complaining doesn't fix anything, all right? We have to be solution-oriented. If we don't like something or don't agree with something, we have to figure out a way to fix it or solve it. It's not a time to be pointing fingers and lacking accountability and being angry at the whole world over your little opinions or view about things, you know. Complaining is not, like, complaining doesn't do anything, to be honest with you, okay? If you don't have a real end game, a real plan or solution to anything you feel a certain way about, then shut up. Then just be quiet, because your complaining is not going to add anything to it. Your little emotions, your little outbursts isn't going to solve anything. And it's the problem today with the world today. It's the problem with society is that, you know, people feel like because they complain stuff that things get fixed. Proper structure is what fixes things. Proper planning, proper leadership is what fixes issues, not complaining. Because complaining comes from a place of, you know, emotional instability. It comes from a place of ungratefulness. It also comes from a place of just wanting to be heard. You know, most people that complain about things don't have any solution to fix it. They don't add anything to the society or this world or any problems that's going on. So that's why, to me, complaining can be very empty sometimes. It could be very fruitless, because if it doesn't lead to an actual change or improvement of something or a situation, then why trip about it so much, you know? We need to fix things that are within our control. We need to fix things that are attainable. A lot of these things that we complain about aren't even in our control in the first place. And you shouldn't suppress your own emotions and feelings. You do have emotions and feelings for a reason, but it's a way you moderate it and balance it. You know what I mean? You can't walk around with unbalanced emotions all the time, because then you're not going to have the proper outlook on things as you go through life. All right, we know life is not fair. We know things don't make a lot of sense sometimes, but at the end of the day, what are you doing on your part to live your best life? What are you doing to serve God? What are you doing to be grateful for what God has done for you? How will you appreciate what God has blessed you with? You see, when you're truly blessed by God, and you're truly covered, and you're truly protected, and you're anointed, you really have nothing to trip about. If you're chosen by God, if you have a purpose, if you don't get God's will, what are you really complaining, tripping about? All right? We are in this world, but not of it. And we have to remember that, okay? This world is not our dwelling place. This is an evil, sick world. So a lot of things are not going to make sense. And a lot of things are just going to be what they're going to be. Us as God's people, we have to remember that this is just temporary, okay? All these things in the flesh is temporary. It's not forever, okay? So let's deal with things accordingly and be mature about it, all right? So I want to read some scriptures concerning complaining and bickering or what have you, and just go from there. You know, if anything, always cry out to God. Always cry out to the Lord. Always issue your complaints and your issues with the Most High. Don't always just throw it on yourself or throw it all on people, you know. Carry it to the Lord. So what I want to do is read some scriptures concerning this and go from there. The book of Psalm, chapter 55, verse 17. Evening and morning at noon, I will complain and murmur, and he will hear my voice. The book of James, chapter 5, verse 9. Do not complain, brethren, against one another, so that you yourselves may not be judged. Behold, the judge is standing right at the door. The book of Isaiah, chapter 29, verse 24. Those who earn mine will know the truth, and those who criticize will accept instruction. The book of Proverbs, chapter 23, verse 29. Who has woe? Who has sorrow? Who has contentions? Who has complaining? Who has wounds without cause? Who has redness of eyes? The book of Job, chapter 21, verse 4. As for me, is my complaint to man? And why should I not be impatient? The book of Lamentations, chapter 3, verse 39. Why should any living mortal or any man offer complaint in view of his sins? The book of Philippians, chapter 2, verse 14. Do all things without grumbling or disputing. The book of John, chapter 6, verse 61. But Jesus, conscious that his disciples grumbled at this, said to them, does this cause you to stumble? The book of 1 Peter, chapter 4, verse 9. Be hospitable to one another without complaint. The book of Job, chapter 7, verse 13. If I say my bed will comfort me, my couch will ease my complaint. The book of Job, chapter 9, verse 27. Though I say I will forget my complaint, I will leave off my sad countenance and be cheerful. The book of Proverbs, chapter 21, verse 19. It is better to live in a desert land than with a contentious and vexing woman. Y'all be dating them crazy chicks. Y'all be dating the women that's always complaining. Them toxic shorties. The book of Philippians, chapter 2, verse 15. So that you will prove yourselves to be blameless and innocent children of God, above reproach in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, among you whom appear as lights in the world. The book of Job, chapter 10, verse 1. I loathe my own life. I will give full vent to my complaint. I will speak in the bitterness of my soul. The book of Job, chapter 33, verse 13. Why do you complain against him, that he does not give an account of all his doings? The book of Job, chapter 31, verse 38. If my land cries out against me, and its furrows weep together. The book of Psalm, chapter 55, verse 2. Give heed to me and answer me. I am restless in my complaint and am surely distracted. The book of Colossians, chapter 3, verse 13. Bearing with one another and forgiving each other. Whoever has a complaint against anyone, just as the Lord forgave you, so also you should you. The book of Jude, chapter 1, verse 16. These are grumblers, finding fault, following after their own lust. They speak arrogantly, flattering people for the sake of gaining an advantage. The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 1. Does any one of you, when he has a case against his neighbor, dare to go to law before the unrighteous and not before the saints? The book of Psalm chapter 106, verse 25. But grumbled in their tents, they did not listen to the voice of the Lord. The book of Lamentations chapter 3, verse 39 through 40. Why should any living mortal or any man offer complaint in view of his sins? Let us examine and probe our ways, and let us return to the Lord. Let's see. The book of Numbers chapter 11, verse 1. Now the people who became like those who complain of adversity in the hearing of the Lord, and when the Lord heard it, his anger was kindled, and the fire of the Lord burned among them and consumed them of the outskirts of the camp. The book of Jude chapter 1, verse 7 through 16. Just as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities around them, since they are in the same way as these indulged in gross immorality and went after strange flesh, are exhibited as an example in undergoing the punishment of eternal fire. Yet in the same way, these men also by dreaming defile the flesh and reject the authority and revile angelic majesties. But Michael the archangel, when he disputed with the devil and argued about the body of Moses, did not dare pronounce against him in a railing judgment, but said, The Lord rebuke you. But these men revel these things, the things which they do not understand, and the things which they know by instinct, like unreasoning animals. By these things they are destroyed. Woe to them, for they have gone the way of Cain, and for pay they have hushed headlong into the error of Balaam, and perished in the rebellion of Korah. These are the men who are hidden reefs in your love feast when they feast with you without fear, caring for themselves, clouds without water, carried along by winds, autumn trees without fruit, doubly dead uprooted, wild waves of the sea, casting up their own shame like foam, wandering stars for of whom the black darkness has been reserved forever. It was also about these men that Enoch, in the seventh generation from Adam, prophesied, saying, Behold, the Lord came with many thousands of his holy ones to execute judgment upon all, and to convict all the ungodly of their ungodly deeds, which they have done in an ungodly way, and of all the harsh things which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. These are grumblers, finding fault, follow after their own lusts. They speak arrogantly, flattering people for the sake of gaining an advantage. The book of Philippians, chapter 4, verse 11. Not that I speak from want, for I have learned to be content in whatever circumstances I am in. The book of 1 Thessalonians, chapter 5, verse 18. In everything give thanks, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. The book of Numbers, chapter 14, verse 26 through 27. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, How long should I bear with this evil congregation who are grumbling against me? I have heard the complaints of the sons of Israel, which they are making against me. The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 10 through 11. Nor grumble as some of them did, and were destroyed by the destroyer. Now these things happened to them as an example, and they were written for our instruction, upon whom the ends of the ages have come. The book of Psalm, chapter 64, verse 1. For the choir director, a psalm of David. Hear my voice, O God, in my complaint. Preserve my life from dread of the enemy. The book of Psalm 73, verse 13 through 21. Surely in vain I have kept my heart pure, and washed my hands in innocence, for I have been stricken all day long, and chastened every morning. If I had said, I will speak this, behold, I would have betrayed a generation of your children. When I pondered to understand this, it was troublesome in my sight, until I came into the sanctuary of God. Then I perceived their end. Surely you set them in slippery places. You cast them down to destruction. How they are destroyed in a moment. They are utterly swept away by sudden terrors, like a dream when one awakes. O Lord, when aroused, you will despise their form. When my heart was embittered, and I was pierced within. The book of Psalm, chapter 142, verse 2. I poured out my complaint before him. I declare my trouble before him. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 12, verse 1 through 4. Righteous are you, O Lord, that I would plead my case with you. Indeed, I would discuss matters of justice with you. Why has the way of the wicked prospered?
Why are all those who deal in treachery at ease? You have planted them, they have also taken root. They grow, they have even produced fruit. You are near to their lips, but far from their mind. But you know me, O Lord. You see me, and you examine my heart's attitude toward you. Drag them off like sheep for the slaughter, and set them apart for a day of carnage. How long is the land to mourn, and the vegetation of the countryside to wither, for the wickedness of those who dwell in it? Animals and birds have been snatched away, because men have said, he will not see our latter ending. The book of Jonah, chapter 4, verse 1 through 3. But it greatly displeased Jonah, and he became angry. He prayed to the Lord and said, Please, Lord, was not this what I said while I was still in my own country? Therefore, in order to forestall this, I fled to Tarshish, for I knew that you are a gracious and compassionate God, slow to anger and abundant in love and kindness, and one who relents concerning calamity. Therefore now, O Lord, please take my life from me, for death is better to me than life. The book of Luke, chapter 15, verse 2. Both the Pharisees and the scribes began to grumble, saying, This man receives sinners and eats with them. That's when the Pharisees and scribes was complaining about Christ and how Christ was around the sinners and tax collectors. And, the Pharisees always gave Christ a hard time. They always complain about every little thing he did. Because when you're truly doing the will of God, it's not going to make sense in a lot of people's eyes. So always got to remember that when you're doing this work for God, you're doing the will of God. Many people complain about it from the left and the right, but keep your eyes on the prize. Fight the good fight and stay focused on what the Lord has for you. The book of Psalm, chapter 55, verse 2. Give heed to me and answer me. I am restless in my complaint and am surely distracted. The book of Psalm 77, verse 3. When I remember God, then I am disturbed. When I sigh, then my spirit grows faint. Selah. The book of Psalm 102, verse 1. A prayer of the afflicted when he is faint and pours out his complaint before the Lord. Hear my prayer, O Lord, and let my cry for help come to you. Psalm 144, verse 14. Let our cattle bear without mishap and without loss. Let there be no outcry in our streets. The book of Psalm 142, verse 2. I pour out my complaint before him. I declare my trouble before him. All right, so as you can see, throughout the Old and New Testament, the Word of God tells us how to deal with our complaints and, anger and whatnot. Always put it in the Lord's hands. Cry out to the Lord. Pray to God about it. Put it in God's hands, okay? That's how we're supposed to deal with complaining. We're not supposed to just complain about every little thing and, complain about every little person we deal with. That's just petty and immature and childish, all right? We need to be more mature and, be solution-oriented and always get to the bottom of things and fix whatever we need to fix. And always cry out to God and pray to him about everything going on in our lives and our circumstances. I pray to God that whoever listens to this message, I pray that you get baptized and you start your life over for the Lord. I pray that you get new beginnings and things get better for you. I pray that you pour out all your issues to God. I pray that you cry out to the Lord. I pray that you stay prayed up and that you don't pour your burdens and complaints on other people, and you always be willing to be solution-oriented and fix whatever is going on in your life. I'm Jarvis Kingston. I got much love for y'all. Y'all keep improving and growing. Peace.